The wind bites, a relentless predator howling through the skeletal remains of the forest. Your shelter, a crude lean-to of fallen branches, offers little comfort against the creeping cold. For 2 days you have been lost, and the gnawing emptiness in your stomach has become a constant, unwelcome companion. A rabbit, still and unaware, presents itself just 20 yards away. Here, in this desperate moment, your survival hinges not on your strength or your will, but on the simple, brutal efficiency of the tool in your hand. A well-aimed throw with a sharpened stick, a quick and humane dispatch with your knife. These are the actions that separate life from death. But what if your blade is dull? What if it fails you now? In the moments that follow, we shall embark on a journey together, not through the wildlands of the Serengeti or the depths of the ocean, but into the microscopic world of a knife's edge. I will guide you, step by step, through the ancient and meditative art of sharpening a blade. This is not a mere hobby or a craftsman's indulgence. It is one of the most fundamental survival skills a person can possess. We will explore why a dull knife is a far greater liability than no knife at all, and I will show you how to transform a blunt piece of metal into an instrument of surgical precision, using methods that have been trusted for centuries. This is the knowledge that turns a simple tool into a reliable partner. The skills you are about to learn are timeless. They connect you to our earliest ancestors, who discovered that a sharp flake of flint could carve a spear, butcher a kill, and defend a family. In a world of increasing complexity and reliance on fragile systems, this elemental knowledge offers a profound sense of security and self-reliance. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can provide for yourself, that you can shape your environment, and that you can face the unexpected. Forget the fleeting trends of modern survival gadgets. The mastery of the blade is a permanent and powerful asset, a testament to human ingenuity. So, listen closely. Observe with care. The path we are about to walk is one of patience and precision. It demands a calm hand and a focused mind. By the end of our time together, you will look at every knife you own not as a simple utensil, but as a lifeline. You will understand its needs, respect its potential, and possess the ability to maintain it in a state of perfect readiness. For when the veneer of civilization is stripped away, and you are left with only your wits and the tools you carry, the keenness of your blade may very well be the only thing that matters. Let us begin. Allow me to take you back some years to a young ranger I knew in the Highlands of Scotland. He was a capable man, strong and knowledgeable, but he carried a secret shame. He was careless with his tools. His knife, a handsome stag-handled thing he had inherited, was perpetually blunt. He used it for everything, prying open tins, digging in the hard earth, cutting wire, but he never gave it the care it deserved. He saw sharpening as a chore, something to be put off until tomorrow. We often warned him, explaining that a dull tool requires more force, and more force means less control. A slip is inevitable, we would say. He would simply laugh it off. One afternoon, while preparing a fire, he attempted to feather a stick for tinder. This task requires a sharp edge to shave off fine, curly slivers of wood. With his dull blade, he had to push, and push hard. Instead of shaving the wood, the knife skidded across the surface, glanced off a knot, and ploughed a deep, ragged gash across his left forearm. The wound was not clean. It was a brutal tear. A sharp knife would have sliced cleanly a wound that, while serious, would have been far easier to treat. A dull blade, however, rips and shreds flesh, causing significantly more tissue damage and increasing the risk of a severe infection. His ordeal was a harsh lesson in physics and physiology. A sharp edge concentrates all applied force onto an incredibly fine point, allowing it to sever material with minimal effort. A dull edge, by contrast, is rounded. It spreads that same force over a wider area, requiring immense pressure to achieve a cut. This is why you must strain and saw with a blunt kitchen knife to slice a tomato, squashing it in the process, whereas a sharp one glides through. In a survival scenario, this extra exertion wastes precious energy, and the increased likelihood of the blade slipping can lead to a disabling injury when medical help is miles or even days away. The young ranger was lucky. We were there to administer first aid, to clean the jagged wound as best we could, and to get him back to the nearest village for proper medical attention. He recovered, but he carried the scar, a pale puckered line on his arm, as a permanent reminder of his negligence. From that day forward, he became a master of the sharpening stone. He understood, in a way that no words could have taught him, that a dull knife is not merely an inefficient tool. It is an active danger, a treacherous and unpredictable foe you carry in your own pocket. It promises utility, but delivers only risk. What does it truly mean for a blade to be sharp? The concept seems simple, yet its reality is found at a scale almost too small for us to perceive. Imagine looking at the edge of your knife under a powerful microscope. A truly sharp edge is a perfect near-flawless V. It is the meeting of two precisely angled planes of steel, converging to a point so fine that it may be only a few molecules wide. This apex is what does the work. When it moves across a material, it exerts immense pressure on a microscopic line, severing the bonds between fibres with astonishing ease. It is a wedge in its most perfect and refined form. Now let's look at a dull edge under that same microscope. The perfect V is gone. Through use and abuse, that fine apex has been worn away. It has been dented, rolled over, and blunted into a rounded U shape. Instead of a single fine point of contact, the edge is now a relatively wide, smooth surface. When you try to cut with this, the edge no longer severs fibres. It attempts to crush and tear its way through them. It requires brute force to overcome the material's resistance, as the pressure you apply is spread out across this wider, rounded surface. This is the microscopic reality behind the frustrating experience of a blade that just won't bite. The process of sharpening is therefore the art and science of restoring that perfect V shape. It is a process of abrasion. By grinding the sides of the blade, the cheeks of the V, against an abrasive surface like a sharpening stone, you methodically remove steel. You are not trying to thin the very tip of the edge. That is impossible. Instead, you are grinding away the shoulders of the blade on both sides until the two planes once again meet at a fresh, keen apex. Each pass on the stone is like a sculptor's chisel, removing the excess material to reveal the perfect form hidden within. Understanding this principle is the key to mastering the craft. You are not just rubbing a knife on a rock, you are performing a precise geometric operation. You are reshaping steel at a microscopic level. Every variable, the angle you hold, the pressure you apply, the coarseness of your abrasive, directly influences the final shape of that V. A wider V will be more durable but less keen, suitable for chopping. A narrower, more acute V will be exquisitely sharp but more fragile, ideal for slicing. The true mastery lies in creating the right edge for the task at hand. In our modern world, we are often sold the promise of a quick fix, an easy solution. This is especially true when it comes to maintaining our tools. You have likely seen them, the small, handheld, pull-through sharpeners. They feature two small carbide or ceramic wheels set at a fixed angle. The instructions are simple. Just pull your blade through the slot a few times, and presto, your knife is sharp again. It seems wonderfully convenient. However, what these devices are actually doing to your blade is nothing short of butchery, a crime against good steel. They are the crudest of tools, offering a false sense of sharpness at a terrible cost. Let us return to our microscope. When you drag your blade through one of these gadgets, the hard carbide cutters do not gently hone the edge. Instead, they aggressively scrape and tear away metal from the blade's shoulders. It is less like sharpening and more like using a can opener on your knife's edge. This violent process creates a micro-serrated edge. It will feel sharp to the touch, and it will indeed rip and tear through a piece of paper or a tomato, but it is a fragile, jagged and weak edge. It is a caricature of sharpness, one that will dull almost immediately because those tiny, torn teeth of steel will fold over or break off with the slightest use. The damage does not stop at the edge itself. Because these pull-through devices remove metal so aggressively and unevenly, they create visible gouges and ripples along the blade. Over time, this repeated abuse will completely ruin the blade's profile, removing far more steel than is necessary and shortening the life of your knife dramatically. It is the equivalent of trying to service a fine watch with a hammer and chisel. You might get it ticking for a moment, but you have caused irreparable harm in the process. A tool that could have served you for a lifetime can be destroyed in a matter of months. True sharpening is a restorative process. It is an act of care. These gadgets offer only destructive convenience. They prey on a lack of knowledge, selling a shortcut that leads to a dead end. For a simple kitchen knife that you do not value, perhaps this is a tolerable compromise. But for a survival knife, a tool upon which your life may depend, it is an unacceptable risk. You must treat your blade with the respect it deserves, and that begins with rejecting the crude, damaging methods of these so-called sharpeners and embracing a technique that nurtures the steel. We now turn to a method that is as elegant as it is effective, the Japanese waterstone. For over 1,000 years, this has been the preferred method for sharpening the legendary blades of samurai, and for good reason. Unlike oil stones, which can become clogged or dry grinding, which can overheat and ruin the temper of the steel, Waterstones use a slurry of water and abrasive particles to gently and precisely abrade the blade. They cut quickly, they do not overheat the metal, and they provide a degree of feedback to the user that is simply unparalleled. This is the path to a truly superior edge. Waterstones are categorized by their grit, a number that indicates the coarseness of the abrasive particles. A low number, such as 220 or 400, signifies a coarse stone. This is for serious work, repairing a chipped edge or establishing a new bevel on a very dull knife. A medium grit, typically around 1000 to 2000, is the workhorse. This is the stone you will use most often for regular sharpening, refining the edge created by the coarse stone. Finally, high-grit finishing or polishing stones, ranging from 3000 to 8000 and beyond, are used to polish the edge to a mirror finish, creating the keenest possible blade. Before you can begin, the stone itself must be prepared. Most synthetic waterstones are thirsty and must be fully submerged in water until they are completely saturated. You will know they are ready when they stop releasing a stream of tiny air bubbles. This process can take anywhere from a few minutes to half an hour, depending on the stone. This water is not just for lubrication. It is crucial for creating the slurry. As you sharpen, particles of the stone and steel mix with the water, forming a muddy paste on the surface. This slurry is the active cutting agent, doing the hard work of shaping your blade. Never wipe it away while you're sharpening. Once soaked, the stone should be placed on a stable, non-slip surface. A damp cloth placed underneath it works remarkably well to prevent it from sliding about on your workbench. You will also want to keep a small container of water nearby to splash onto the stone's surface, keeping it wet and ensuring the slurry remains effective. The setup is simple, requiring only patience and a gentle touch. You are creating a small, controlled environment where steel and stone can meet, a workshop for crafting the perfect edge. This preparation is the first step in a meditative and deeply rewarding process. The single most important factor in sharpening is the angle. It is the foundation upon which the entire structure of a sharp edge is built. If your angle is inconsistent, you will never achieve a true clean apex. If it is too high, you will create a durable but blunt edge. If it is too low, you will create a razor-thin edge that is too fragile for practical use. The goal is to find the correct angle for your knife's purpose, and then, crucially, to maintain that exact angle with every single stroke. This consistency is the true secret, the element that separates the novice from the master. So, how does one find the correct angle? For most general-purpose survival and outdoor knives, an inclusive angle of around 30 to 40 degrees is ideal. This means you are sharpening each side, or bevel, at an angle of 15 to 20 degrees relative to the centerline of the blade. A finer angle, perhaps 12 to 15 degrees per side, is better suited for slicing tasks, like a filleting knife. A more robust angle, say 20 to 25 degrees per side, is what you would want for a heavy chopping tool, like an axe or a machete. The manufacturer often sets an initial angle, and a good starting point is to simply try and match that. There is a simple, practical way to find and feel this angle. Place your blade flat on the stone. Now imagine lifting the spine of the knife just enough to slide 2 pennies underneath it. This will raise the spine and create an angle of approximately 15 to 20 degrees between the blade and the stone. This is an excellent starting point for most knives. Rest your fingers on the flat of the blade, applying gentle pressure, and feel that angle. Lock your wrists and elbows. The sharpening motion should come from your shoulders and torso, not from flexing your wrist, which will inevitably cause the angle to rock and change. Before you even begin to abrade the steel, practice this. Place the blade on the stone, find your angle, and slide the knife back and forth without pressure. Get a feel for the movement. Notice how you must slightly lift the handle as you move towards the curved belly of the blade to ensure the stone makes contact with the entire edge. This is not a race. It is a deliberate, measured dance. Committing the feeling of this consistent angle to your muscle memory is more important than any other step in the process. It is the patient groundwork that ensures a successful outcome. With your coarse or medium stone prepared and your angle committed to memory, the real work begins. Start with one side of the blade. Place the heel of the knife, the part of the edge closest to the handle, on the far end of the stone. Hold your chosen angle firmly. Now, with gentle, even pressure applied with the fingers of your other hand, push the knife away from you, as if you are trying to shave off a thin slice from the stone's surface. As you move along the stone, sweep the blade sideways so that, by the end of the stroke, the tip of the knife has reached the near end of the stone. This ensures the entire length of the edge is sharpened evenly. At the end of the push stroke, lift the blade and return to the starting position. Do not drag the knife backwards along the stone with the edge leading. This can damage the fine apex you are trying to create. The sharpening happens on the push stroke, edge first. Repeat this motion, a smooth sweeping push, 10 to 15 times. Maintain your angle. Maintain gentle pressure. Keep the stone wet. You are not trying to force the result, you are coaxing the steel into its new shape. Listen to the sound. A consistent shh sound tells you that your angle is steady. A scratchy or changing sound indicates your angle is rocking. After several strokes, you must check for the burr. This is the most important indicator of progress. A burr is a tiny, raised ridge of metal that forms on the opposite side of the edge you are sharpening. It is the result of the two bevels meeting. To find it, carefully run your thumb or forefinger across the edge from the spine towards the edge. On the side, you were not grinding. Never run your finger along the edge. You should feel a tiny, rough lip or wire. That is the burr. If you can feel a consistent burr along the entire length of the blade, you have successfully sharpened that side. Once you have raised a burr along the full length of one side, it is time to flip the knife over and repeat the exact same process on the other side. Use the same angle, the same pressure, and the same number of strokes. Your goal now is to raise a burr on the first side. This process effectively folds the initial burr back and forth. When you have successfully raised a burr on the second side, you have formed a new, sharp apex. The subsequent steps will involve moving to finer stones to refine this apex and remove the burr completely, but raising that initial burr is the moment of triumph. It is the proof that your technique is working. The final stages of sharpening are about refinement and polish. After forming a burr on your medium grit stone, you move to your fine grit finishing stone. The process is the same, but the touch is lighter. Here you will use alternating strokes, one on each side of the blade, with progressively lighter pressure. This action gently weakens and removes the burr while polishing the new edge to a mirror-like finish. Finally, stropping the blade on a piece of leather loaded with a fine polishing compound will remove the very last microscopic remnants of the burr, aligning the edge for ultimate keenness. The result is an edge that will glide through paper silently and shave hair from your arm with ease. This entire process, from preparing the stone to the final strop, is more than just maintenance. It is a conversation with your tool. It is an investment of time and focus that pays dividends in reliability and confidence. In a survival situation, this skill transcends convenience. It is the ability to fashion a spear, to craft a fishhook from bone, to prepare food cleanly, to make fire with a feather stick, and to perform delicate first aid. A sharp knife is a force multiplier, a tool that unlocks countless other survival strategies. A dull knife is a lump of useless, dangerous metal. Mastering this skill is a declaration of true self-reliance. This knowledge is not meant to be kept to oneself. It is a legacy to be shared. Teach your children, your friends, your fellow adventurers. In passing on this skill, you are giving them one of the most powerful gifts imaginable, the ability to fend for themselves. In an unpredictable world, the capacity to maintain your most basic tool is a profound comfort. Look at the knife in your hand. It is not just steel, it is potential. It is a key, and with the knowledge you now possess, you know how to keep it ready for any lock that fate may present to you. Therefore, never again neglect your blade. Treat every knife you own as if your life depends on it, for one day it just might. The calm, meditative practice of sharpening is your ritual of readiness. It is your quiet promise to yourself that you will not be found wanting when the moment of need arrives. The stone, the water, and the steel are your partners in this endeavour. Honour them with your patience and your focus, and they will reward you with an edge you can trust. They will give you a lifeline you can hold in the palm of your hand. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on more ancient techniques and survival skills. Stay sharp and stay prepared.